The test patients started to talk amongst themselves about why they had gotten sentenced. "So, why are you here, cutie?" Max said. "Well, let's just say I got carried away quite a few times," Jane replied. "If any of you say another word, I will happily make y'all my last victims," Oliver said. Whoa, hey man, I mean, we're all crazy, but I think we can be relatively normal for a bit. Well, at least until this experiment ends," Max said. "Until the experiment ends? You really are clueless. What part of death row inmates and experiments go well together? Look man, just don't make these last few hours of my life miserable. Please, just shut up." Hour 3. This is when things started to take a turn. "Guys, come check this out," Jessica said. Right before my eyes, I was seeing a neurogenesis take place at a rapid rate. Although a massive spike in neural activity was taking place, nothing seemed even a bit off from the test patients. Hour 4. Suddenly, out of the blue, the most unexpected things happened. These what I thought to be mentally deranged people were actually apologizing for their faults. They started to look up to the ceiling. Maybe they saw something that we couldn't, but they were quite literally being judged either by themselves or something external. Hour 5. This is when I started to notice physical changes. All of the test patients' temperatures were normal up until this hour, but suddenly, all of their temperatures spiked to 110. Other than this, the test patients remained quiet throughout this hour. Hour 6. Hour 6 mostly consisted of Oliver crying uncontrollably until he ran out of tears. Why, no, this is nothing like me." Hour 7. Jane started to behave in a very unusual way. First, it started off by her gagging, and then she started to walk on all fours, consistently repeating, "I'm an animal. I will always be an animal. I don't deserve to be a human." Hour 8. It was pretty much a continuation of Hour 7. You may be asking, what was Oliver doing this entire time? Well, Oliver stayed dead silent in the corner, staring deep into the wall, not even once turning away. Hour 9. Mac finally broke his silence. "We deserve this by all means. We become the bottom of the pit. Let us feel the wrath of God." Mac then goes on to leap in an unnatural way straight to Jane, and then proceeded to attack her while saying, "You are a sinner. You are no better than the pigs who bathe in crap." Hour 10. Mac had beat Jane senseless, leaving her dead within 30 minutes. Oliver, throughout this whole time, stayed weeping in the ground. "Okay, I think that's enough for now," Mac said. "Mac, is it possible that even I can be cleansed?" Oliver asked. "Good question, but no. None of us will be forgiven for what we've done. But I won't let us go out without experiencing just a fraction of the pain that we've caused," Mac replied. "Then why haven't you killed me? Do it, end my suffering. I can't take this anymore." "Because you're going to kill me. How about you end my suffering?" Mac said. "I'm scared, Mac. Is it possible that you can comfort me before the end as my last wish? I beg you." Mac stayed quiet, and then again, he sat down in the corner, fixating his attention at the wall. Hour 11. This is when the biggest physical change took place. Oliver and Mac's skin started to turn light blue. You could see their veins and arteries. Why was this happening? I have no idea. But slowly, I started to understand. "Oh, so it's finally coming close to an end," the director said. "What the heck is happening to his skin? Matter of fact, what is the research chemical made out of?" "I won't go into detail just yet, but answering your first question, the reason their skin is turning orange is by the small amounts of extraterrestrial DNA. I had so many questions, but of course, I had to wait until after the experiment for them to explain. Hour 12. Mac quickly gets up and runs at an inhuman level of speed towards the wall over and over again. Oliver quickly joins in. I'm assuming they had had enough of this experiment and decided that it was time to take themselves out. But of course, this egotistical director wasn't satisfied, so he quickly ordered guards to tranquilize the two men and strap them down in chairs. I can't take this anymore, please, Max said. Freaking do it, get rid of us. I will give you both a quick death if you explain in full detail the reasoning behind these actions, the director asked. Around us exist dimensions, and well, the entity who runs it all. I've seen him and he's spoken to me, Oliver said. Oliver, don't you say another word, Max spoke. Or what? I want to die already, don't you? Of course I do, but still. You know what waits for us on the other side, right? The director pulls out his handgun and completely unloads the clip into Mac's head. Okay, now that we've got that situated, continue please, the director said. Yeah, well, back to what I was saying. Around us exist dimensions that we cannot see with the naked eye. But once you injected us with whatever that was, we entered this realm. Explain to us what this realm is like. Well, it was quite colorful, strange, and outright unearthly. For example, there were shapes and colors that I've never seen before. Entities roaming around in the abyss. And don't get me started on these strange vibrational sounds that I heard. This sounds like a lot like DMT to me, I said. What exactly is DMT, Aaron? The director said. Well, DMT is a naturally occurring chemical in our bodies that is theorized to help us dream at night. And while you can find a pure substance of it and smoke it and experience a trip-like state. I know this from experience, just like on the last experiment. I knew what LSD was like, and now I can clearly see that the guys have decided to modify DMT as well. You catch on quick, Aaron. I'm impressed, but right now isn't the time for that. Explain in broader detail. What else do you want to know? 1 minute I was here in this room and the next, I was launched into a different dimension. Is this really my existence? Is this really how it's all going to end? Oliver started to enter a psychosis-like state. I couldn't say that I didn't feel bad for him, but at the end of the day, he was still a murderer. We all wear a mask. We are all truly insane. We are all insane. You, me, and everyone here. No one in this world truly knows each other. We all hold up a mask and hide our true nature. We are truly lost and alone. Well, is this your true nature? The director asked. I remember now, who I was before my mask was put on. Can you answer my question? No, I remember who I truly was before all of this chaos. I'm gonna need you to give me a better idea about what you're talking about. Whatever your name is, do you remember who you were before the mask? Well, maybe if you gave a better explanation of what you were talking about, I would give a proper response. Ego is the word. Well, hear me out before the mask. Well, I mean before the ego. When we were children, we were so innocent. There was no fear of death, no fear of status, no fear of anything. The present moment was all we had. The sky was still a bright blue. Look, don't get all philosophical on me. I know what it was like to be a kid, but give me more information about these so-called masks. We slowly became more and more conscious about the horrors of this world, and slowly our innocence started to fade. Life was no longer life anymore, but merely a competition of status. Why do you think children are so precious to everyone? Because they have not yet acquired a mask. But we all know that they too will grow up to know the terrors of this world. I know I wasn't a murderer before, but ego, the mask, can lead you down dark valleys. To my old self, my true self, I truly apologize that I ended up here. Alright, thank you for explaining. You have now earned the privilege of death. I was completely terrified, not of anything visually but of the words that he spoke. The truth, the light had seeped through my mask. I really started to question myself as well. Who was I before the mask? He's really got you thinking, huh? The director spoke. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, his words did send a shiver up my spine. Well, Aaron, just finish examining their bodies and after head to my office so we can have a little chat. For some reason, their skin turned a very bright blue, but I was confused. If this was DMT, there shouldn't have been any physical changes. But other than the strange skin, there wasn't much of a difference between them now and before the experiment. So, you called me here to talk to you? Well, yes, I would like to thank you for helping us out. Even though these 2 past experiments don't relate to your work, having you here really does make things run smoother. Look, I'm not gonna act like I'm here by choice, but I feel like I deserve an explanation. Why? Why use children in the last experiment, and why keep on murdering for so-called research purposes? You see, you have become very arrogant, and that's a good thing. The public has been brainwashed into believing that there is a structure, that there are morals. Y'all have been focused on stupid beliefs and external factors, that you have all forgotten that we are human too. We are curious too, and we have goals. We have curiosities, and most importantly, we have power. Why would you tell me all of this? Well, that's why I called you here. You have 2 choices. Either you stay here and keep on doing experiments until the end of your days, or I simply kill you. I'm sorry that it has to be like this, but you know too much. I will continue to support your research experiments, sir. I only complied to buy time. Right now, I sit in my room writing this to y'all. I'm messed up in the head and I'm in too deep. There's no way I'm going to keep doing experiments, and I'm not going to let that guy kill me. So after this is posted, I would take my last breath in this hellish reality. Be safe and remember, nothing good lurks in the shadows, and if it's possible, try to find the light in this world. This is Aaron Roca signing off. Sometimes at night, I hear whistling in the woods. Written by Dr. Horrible 26. I'm what most people refer to as a mountain man. You know, living off the land and working with my bare hands, that kind of stuff. I know, big shocker. The wild men have access to technology. Well, we're not cavemen. Just people who enjoy living in the wilderness. I was always one of those people. Until recently anyways. I lived in a small log cabin, cozy enough for a 34-year-old man with a strange interest in carving and woodchopping. Now, I wasn't completely out in the wilderness. There was a small town about 7 miles away, but still secluded enough to feel the peace and tranquility of living in nature. Not to mention secluded enough to be completely alone. Anyways, one night after finishing putting the chicken and roosters away, I sat on my porch enjoying the stars and moon. As I sat, I lit my pipe and I heard this strange sound, almost like a mix of a bird cooing and a chirping grasshopper. Seeing as how I was the only home for miles, I chalked it up to animals. I mean, what else could it be, right? As strange as the sound was, it was also kind of soothing. After listening for a moment, the whistling stopped quite abruptly. It was strange. The moment the whistling ended, so did the rest of the world's sounds. I couldn't hear the wind blowing, or the running stream out back. It was as if somebody had hit the mute button on my property. It was so quiet that I could have easily mistaken my breathing for a wailing beast. But just as I was about to question my sanity, suddenly, the sounds of nature returned. I'd put my pipe out and made my way back inside. After making myself a nice hearty meal you would expect a wild man to eat, lots of meat, along with a hefty nice glass of bourbon. I began cleaning my kitchen, and I was about to wrap the leftovers. The cuckoo clock above my stove began, well, cooing. Now, that doesn't sound like anything crazy, but the thing is, that clock has been busted for years, and it's been nothing more than a wall decoration. And as I thought, the clock was still broken. In fact, it wasn't even cooing. It was that whistle I had heard moments before my dinner. And once again, as it ended, for a few moments so did my hearing. I chalked it up to a long day of labor, so I decided that I would hit the hay. And that's when things got weird. As I awoke and prepared myself for another day of hard work, I noticed something. The dinner from last night, the one I never got to finish wrapping, was completely gone off the plate. I tried to reason with myself that maybe I had finished it, but yet the plate and saran wrap were both sitting out there on the counter. You see, I'm not normally a superstitious person, so I again reasoned with myself that I had finished it before having the chance to wrap it up. After all, that glass of bourbon was pretty large, so I brushed it off and I went on about my day. I went to let out my poultry for feeding when I saw, well, a pretty messed up sight. My chickens had been completely butchered. It wasn't the fact that my chickens were dead that made me unsettled. I mean, I've lost plenty of them to wild animals, looking for a quick snack to eat. But that's the thing. None of my chickens had any signs of being eaten of any kind. They were all mutilated. Some were impaled along the picket fence that was used to keep them in, and not neatly either. No, they were so torn up that the shiny white wood had been dyed with the red-crimson blood of my poor birds. 2 of them were completely hollowed out. No bones, no organs, and no muscle tissue. It was no more than an empty sack of chicken skin. Whatever did this wasn't looking for a meal. It was in it for the thrill of the hunt. After that, I decided some precautions needed to be taken, so I took a trip down to town. Luckily for me, a technical store was opened not too long ago, so I decided to purchase some security cameras. "Hey, you're that wild forest dude who lives in the woods, right?" the young clerk asked as he rang up my items. He had to be no more than 18. The classic, old enough to grow facial hair, but not enough to grow a full beard look. Grungy hippie clothes, and he gave off a strong aroma of purple haze and pineapple express. It reminds me of when me and my brother would grow pot in our backyard in high school. Despite being a goofy high schooler, he was a good kid, had a very love, not war vibe to him. I let out a laugh as I reached for my wallet. I didn't know I had that much of a reputation. He returned my laughter and quickly replied, "Dude, you're a legend around school. Everyone out here is too formal, you feel me? You, though, living off the land, doing things with your own 2 hands. It's freaking hardcore, bro," he exclaimed, almost as if he was fanboying over me. I looked at his shiny name tag, which read Spliffy. I chuckled at the nickname. I proceeded to complete my transaction when he asked me, "What's with all the tech then?" I paused for a moment, leading to him continuing his question. "My man, you've been living the frontier life since I was in pre-K. Why the sudden change up?" "I've been hearing some noises in the woods. Not like anything I've heard before. It messed up some of my birds pretty bad," I said as I handed the boy my credit card. "So, just some weird sounds then?"